And welcome to another edition of Cruise Control Motoring, your on-air automotive magazine. We're going to head out and check out all of the things going on in the automotive industry. We got a full roster this week, and with me to check them all out is Les Jackson. How you doing, Les?
Very good, Fred. Very good. And you are right. We have one heck of a list of things to cover.
Yes, we do. And we're going to get started with Toyota. Of course, they built their reputation on reliability. Now Tundra's engine problems continue, putting that reputation at risk. And truck buyers are paying close attention to it. When will it affect sales?
I bet they are paying close attention. You think of a Toyota engine running 300,000 miles, but we'll talk about it. And speaking of engines, Fred, Ram thought it could move beyond the HEMI V8, but customers had other ideas. Now there are reports the legendary engine could be returning even more to Jeep, Dodge, and Ram models. We knew this was coming.
I think they're also going to put it in the Pacifica minivan, too. What do you think? I don't know, but...
I don't know about that one. Yeah.
Over at Ford, they have issued a serious do not drive warning for certain Bronco Sport and Maverick owners. If you have one of those vehicles, you want to listen up. While another report asks a bigger question, are Americans finally getting tired of sky-high truck prices? I can answer that, yes.
Well... When were they used to those prices? I mean, they just kind of went crazy overnight. Anyway, Hyundai says hybrid sales surged 90% last month. Boy, that's a surge. And Honda may be bringing a V6 hybrid Ridgeline to market. And the question is the industry finally finding the sweet spot between gas power and EVs? Well, it sure looks that way.
Yeah, and here's something that's powered by gas. BMW is adding all-wheel drive to its M2 for the first time. M2, very popular. I hear a lot of people talking about it. While Toyota is sharpening up the GR86 with new performance updates, and they are aimed at driving enthusiasts. That is a fun little vehicle.
Absolutely.
All that and more on Cruise Control Motoring.
Well, we mentioned it. Toyota built its reputation on reliability, and rightfully so, but the Tundra is threatening to undo it. So the question is, what's happening? Well, engine problems in the broad category. The twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 has generated multiple recalls, engine replacement campaigns. Fred, this sounds a little like the Hyundai engines with the Santa Fe's a few years back.
That's right. Or I think it also might sound like some of the V8s in the Silverado as well and other GM products. Manufacturing issues, they're saying, with debris in the engine. You know, you and I talked about this before when we talked about this story earlier. This is a
engine. It is a very, very dirty process. Lots of metal shavings, micro metal shavings. And the big thing in the manufacturing plants is cleaning the engine blocks and the heads and all of that, the crankshaft, very thoroughly. And for some reason, Toyota's having this problem. Kia has had this problem. Hyundai had this problem. Silverado.
I don't know. I mean, maybe there was a change in the solvent that they use, or
maybe it could be something simple.
But the Toyota engine is the V35A twin turbo, as you mentioned. More than 100,000 vehicles were involved in this recall. And that's the original campaign. Additional recall expanded the total to about 126,000 to 127,000 vehicles. And reports indicate the affected population is approaching 270,000 vehicles. nothing ruins reliability more when your engine just, grenades, right?
That's right. When your engine, it used to be there was a term back in the days, drag racing days, when you would lunch an engine,
Mm-hmm.
which
Or
meant you
window the
blew it up.
block is meant you blow a
That's
hole
right.
right out through the
Blow
webbing of the block.
And it's not like an engine, even at the factory level. It's not like an engine is cheap.
No.
It's a very expensive part of the assembly, and they got hundreds of thousands to worry about.
Would you feel if you
Man,
bought an expensive Tundra vehicle and the engine blew and they said, okay, well, we'll get you another engine. How would you feel about having now you've spent 70 grand on a new truck, maybe more,
yeah,
and now the dealer is digging in and hopefully they get everything connected back right. Hopefully they get all the sensors in. It's not like a easy thing to do.
oh, it's
And
difficult.
they're not building a hot rod and checking everything 3 times, right?
No, they're not. And the other thing is, for the most part, most companies, they're replacing the engine is being replaced, yes, under warranty, but the engine is only warranted for the remainder of the warranty.
Okay.
It's not like you bought an engine and you have a 5-year warranty on it. So you're driving your $75,000 Tundra. They throw an engine in at 50,000, and now you ride on eggs for the next 25,000,
Is
hoping
it
that
diminished value if they do this? If they put a new factory engine in, would that be diminished value for resale?
Oh, yes. Now I've been in, as you know, as soon as you put an engine in, even though it's brand new, even though the factory did it, or the company did it,
Yeah.
it's diminished value because it's known as shaken faith
Oh, okay.
for the buyers. How many buyers are willing to buy that thing now, as opposed to having been willing if the engine hadn't been replaced?
They'll buy it, but for less money. Say,
Oh,
okay,
much less.
I'll
Yes.
roll the dice on a used vehicle because it's a new engine. Maybe it had 20,000 miles on it, the truck, and now it has a fresh engine. So if it was installed properly, hey, I'm ahead of the game. I got a little
That's
less
right.
wear on it, right?
Exactly. So it's a big problem. And the owners getting these engines, I'm sure some of them are going to court looking for some sort of compensation. I don't know. I would get rid of it as soon as I could.
But that's there now in the Carfax, right? It's not like you can hide it.
It's there.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to other engines that have not had trouble, but are rapidly expanding. We'll talk about this. It's an article in Car Buzz. More HEMI V8 engines are going to return to Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, even more than we told you about recently. It wasn't that long ago that no more HEMIs was the kind of marching orders at all of these Stellantis brands, and then it all changed. Now they can't get enough of them. The Ram CEO has publicly acknowledged that Ram misread its buyers. Frankly, its CEO that's no longer there misread its buyers.
That's right. Boy, did that guy, did he leave a...
I'm sure he got a nice parachute to deploy made of gold.
I'm sure he did, but boy, oh boy, everything he touched, he ruined. Man.
You got to know your audience, man. You got to know your audience.
Yep. And good for Tim Kuniskis, who's the Rams CEO. We've met him. He's been on the show
a number of times.
He's a good guy. He said, "Hey, look, we misread it. Here it is. We fixed it."
Yes.
That's how you handle things. You don't deny, and people are lining up to get a HEMI, and I think they're going to get a HEMI in their lawnmower.
Yeah. Jeep Wrangler 392 is probably coming back.
Yep,
Jeep Performance
that's
SUVs.
A little bit of power for a Jeep Wrangler. But
additional Dodge Performance vehicles. That means putting the HEMI in the Charger, I'm sure. Potential, even more, we just told you about the Rumblebee, potential high-performance Ram variants. The base 5.7 HEMI delivers 395 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. People love the sound, the character, the badging, the brand heritage. And sales have immediately improved following the HEMI's return. Not that their Hurricane straight six 400-plus horsepower engine is bad. It's probably a great engine, right?
Great engine. It's just that it doesn't say HEMI.
Doesn't sound like a HEMI.
It doesn't sound like a HEMI. And in auto history, certain engines, and there aren't that many, but certain engines have taken on their own culture. HEMI,
396,
396, the 427, 409.
Yes.
These are the 289.
Yeah.
These are legendary engines, and 327. How could I forget that?
High winding 327.
Absolutely. And, there's a love for those engines, millions of people. So there you go. I mean, the people wanted a HEMI.
I have to recall 327s in drag racing Camaros, and they would wind them up. Obviously they built the valve train and bottom end, but they'd wind them up to like 9,000 RPM, and they would sound wild. Like they're they're right on the brake, a trans brake on the line, and that thing just sits there for an instant at 9,000 RPM.
Yeah, the valves are floating,
and wheels up.
Oil
launch.
Pressure's 150 psi.
They just wind them up, man, and it sounded good, but wasn't a cheap thing to do. Something that's not cheap. Check this story out, right? We're talking about Dodge and Ram bringing back the HEMI.
Yep.
Of course, they brought out the Charger Daytona EV. This was going to be the big machine for the Charger, electric, all-wheel drive, 670 horsepower, access to Tesla's charging. And it's not selling. It's not selling at all. So what would you do for 2027? Maybe cut the price a little bit, maybe offer a deal.
Yep.
They're raising the price $12,500.
That one I don't get. I didn't major in economics, but to me this seems like a bad idea.
Are they killing it off? Are they saying?
I think so. I think
we want to clear these out.
They're going to say, "Sorry, nobody wants it." It's, but wow.
Yeah, it's like we want to sell more, so we're going to raise it $12,000.
That's right. Well, we don't. Nobody's buying it, so we're going to raise the price so only a select number of people, known as the greater fool, will buy it.
Yeah.
Somehow, if this works, I want to know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the numbers are amazing, but right now, EV sales are slow. This model's sales were very low, and people want a HEMI, and maybe they'll put up with a 550 horsepower Hurricane in the meantime.
Yeah.
They don't want the electric version. Remember, they found out it couldn't do a burnout because it was all-wheel drive. So
that's right.
I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Why are they raising the price of an unpopular, slow-selling car by $12,500? It just doesn't seem correct. But hey, a couple of popular cars that we love to talk about here a lot, and one of them is the Bronco Sport, and the other one is the Ford Maverick. They've got some pretty significant warnings out there. because some major problems. Basically, Ford has issued a do not drive warning that says these vehicles were previously recalled but never repaired. Involves the Ford Bronco Sport and the Ford Maverick. This is major stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, and basically, if the factory says do not drive, it's a good idea not to drive it.
Yeah.
You have to trust the engineers. They wouldn't have gone to this effort if it was just kind of well, maybe something will happen. So this is, again, this is one of these expensive problems that you have to fix.
There is also a dangerous loss of power condition, which could be a bit unnerving if you're on the highway. According to Ford, the battery may suddenly fail, the vehicle electrical system may shut down, and the drivers could experience a loss of propulsion, and safety systems would be compromised. So if you have one of those vehicles, certainly you'll be contacted. Ford Bronco Sport or Maverick models. We're not sure which exact models or which years are affected by this, but I tell you what, you should not drive it. And I imagine that they will probably arrange for a tow over there. If they're telling you not to drive it, the tow is on them, right?
They'll send a flatbed. Back in 2003, I think, when the Ford GT came out, they brought me the first one. It was part of a promotion thing. I had it for 3 days, driving friends and neighbors and everybody and going crazy with it. And then I was supposed to pick up Vern Parker, the editor of the Washington Times auto section, the following day and drive to Charlotte.
Wow.
Charlotte, North Carolina in this thing.
Wow.
To take it around the track at like 200 was part of a big dealer gathering. So I have the thing for 2.5 days. I'm just going nuts with it.
Right.
And I get a call from the Ford PR rep in the evening. And he says, "Is the car in your driveway?" I said, "Well, yeah."
I hope so.
He said, "Don't touch it. We have a red alert from engineering that the lower control arms in the rear castings probably have air pockets and they can snap." And he said, "Do not touch the car. We're going to send a flatbed to get it."
Right.
And I said, "Well, what about the trip to Charlotte?" And he said, "We're sending a Lincoln and a chauffeur."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I kept thinking, everything I've done with that car in 2 days, and now they tell me the rear end could snap.
That's just good. Yeah. They told you so,
but nothing happened. And it turns out later they checked the car and they said everything was fine with it.
Well, good to be safe. And
absolutely.
And so if you have one of those vehicles, Bronco Sport or Maverick, you may be getting contact.
Yeah, stay out of it.
What to do. Yes. Now, interesting article in Auto Week by Mark Vaughn. Are Americans getting tired of trucks, or are they getting tired of the price of trucks? Auto Week has explored this. Many popular trucks now exceed almost $90,000. Luxury trims can go over $100,000. So people are getting tired of paying higher interest rates, larger monthly payments, higher insurance costs, rising repair costs, and there's more suburban and urban buyers, less need for towing and hauling, and increased crossover utility. People are like, hey, I can have that whole area covered. But has the pain point been reached? What do you think?
I think they're correct. And I think also I have talked to a few neighbors who have big trucks, and they've said, I really regret buying this thing. I can't park it anywhere. I bought it for great visibility, and I have that, but I can't go anywhere with it without, parking 6 blocks away because, it's just too much trouble. And of course, I wouldn't say I told you so,
but you
but
did.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and the cost, as you started this off with, the cost is prohibitive, I think, for the average person.
Well, one thing that apparently is not prohibited for the or prohibitive for the average person is a Hyundai Santa Fe hybrid. Matter of fact, Hyundai has had a surge in hybrid sales in May. Posted a strong sales. The hybrid vehicles were the biggest growth. Hyundai sold 87,468 vehicles in May, an overall sales increase of 3% year over year. Hybrid sales, get this, Les, surged 90% year over year.
Well, there you are.
EV sales.
There's your argument.
Also increased 10% year over year. Hyundai Sonata hybrid sales jumped 250%. 250%. And then the Hyundai Santa Fe was up, I believe, 30%, which is not bad at all. And then the Hyundai Elantra hybrid was up 29%, and the Hyundai Tucson hybrid up 10%. I want you to notice, Les, that not all of them were SUVs either. There were some sedans.
That's right. The Elantra and the Sonata. This is first of all, it's great news. Imagine how happy the dealers are.
Yeah,
and it's just good news overall. Hybrids are the way to go if you want to get into the electric game. They're super reliable. They're trouble-free. I mean, you don't have to do anything.
That's right.
You just drive it. You don't have to plug it in unless you buy a plug-in hybrid.
Just fill up your gas tank a lot less often.
That's right, a whole lot less often. So, and I can see that the Elantra sales appear, 29% is nothing to sniff at, but the Elantra is basically an entry-level vehicle. And
well, here's my thought. Here's my thought on that, on the Sonata and the Elantra hybrids. People just saying gas prices are high, I'll just go buy a car that gets better gas mileage.
Well, absolutely.
Absolutely. And it makes sense when Sonata hybrid is up 250. So people just walked in and said, what do you got that gets good gas mileage? I don't care what it is. And I'll keep it for a year, and if gas prices go down, I'll sell it.
And they'll keep them a lot longer because they're going to love them, and they're going to see that in many, many cases they didn't need a SUV in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I'll tell you, one of the reasons why you probably think you need a SUV is bringing something large home. It, won't fit in that big screen TV, but there's a thing called Amazon. They'll just put it right on your front porch.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about it. So
that's right. You don't have to worry about it.
You used to say you would see people in Super Duties, pickup trucks, dualies, using them as a regular vehicle. That is out of control. It's just not gonna be good.
It is. There's one in our garage right now, and he's parked right behind me, and he's sticking out about 5 feet from the structural pillars.
Well, what if you want a pickup, but you don't want bad fuel economy, or a pickup-like vehicle. Honda says the Ridgeline may disappear for 18 months from the dealers and then come back as a V6 hybrid. They may halt production for about 18 months and it would pause and allow hybrid to prepare for a next-generation Ridgeline. Yep. You and I talked about this. Maybe hybrids with a bigger engine are the way to go because you have the durability and then the capability if you need it for towing or whatever. But you also get the hybrid better, economy. Now, they face several challenges. It's got an old, aging platform, increased competition, growing demand for fuel-efficient trucks. And the hybrid could offer strong towing capability, improved fuel economy, better low torque. Keeping it as a V6, I think it's a differentiator. I have a story coming up here where they actually call out having a V6 versus a Turbo 4. But what do you think? Good idea?
I think it's a great idea. The Ridgeline is very popular among its owners. Spending the next 18 months to bring it up to whatever level they want to get to is terrific. It drives like a car.
Mm-hmm.
It's a light duty truck, but it's one heck of a truck.
Yeah. And it looks like a truck. It looks more like a truck than a Santa Cruz, let's say. And I think it's a good choice, frankly. It looks like a car inside. That might throw a few people off, But, you and I talked about this, about V6s. Now, we started off the cruise control motoring show with Toyota and having some trouble with their engines. And then some people have said, well, maybe a Turbo 4 in a truck is not a good idea. Well, over at Nissan, they're actually marketing the Frontier as a V6 powered machine and not a Turbo 4. They're actually using that as a calling card. This week, they came out with the Sport Edition, which includes a new Frontier look and affordable off-road package positioned below the Pro 4X. Also the theme we were talking about, lower prices. So they are trying to do this with a lower price. 17-inch off-road wheels, sport graphics package, front access lighting, fog lights, aluminum skid plates, all-terrain tires, 3.8 V6. Most powerful naturally aspirated V6 in the segment. Once again, no turbo worries. It is just a 3.8 V6, 7,000-pound towing capability. And their senior manager of product planning, Brent Hagen, said we are seeing a demand for off-road options at more affordable prices. Interesting factoid, 92% of Nissan Frontiers sold over the past decade are still on the road. So what do you think? Is this a good way to get a more affordable off-road capable vehicle versus the Pro 4X? I think it is. I think it's a great
approach. You're just throwing everything out right up front.
Yeah.
This is why we're better. And we're cheaper.
And we're giving you the stuff you want and the things you don't want.
So come on in and drive one, and you're going to like it.
Yeah. And this is going to be available, I believe, late summer 2026. And I think it's one of their most popular models. I think this is a very smart move. It's a packaging move, let's face it. This is a very smart thing. And what people really love, Les Jackson, are those lights above the grill. Those 3 lights above the grill. People love them so much they are trying to buy them from Nissan, to put them on their truck that did not come with them. So, smart move. people are doing that. Hey, you want to
Smart
buy them?
move.
Buy a brand new truck and it will come on them, but you don't have to spend for the top of the range model. Smart stuff. Nissan's scrappy, isn't it? They are trying to come back.
Well,
and
when you're down and out, you get creative. You just work harder, you get creative, and you get out of the problem.
Yes, indeed. All right, now that might not apply to our next vehicle. It is scrappy though, and I tell you, I hear more and more people interested in BMW M2s. Matter of fact, I have a friend that sold a Corvette to get into a BMW M2.
Wow.
Well, there's a story there, but his wife can't drive manual, so he didn't want her driving.
Well,
his
yeah,
Corvettes.
there you are.
So he got a manual M2, but M2 has just released all-wheel drive for the very first time, and yes, you can still drift it. If you were wondering, Les Jackson, can you still drift that all-wheel drive
That's
car?
important. I have a drifting engagement tomorrow.
High Plains Drifter. That's
That's it.
473 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque, 3-liter twin-turbo inline-six, the venerable inline-six, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, and 3.3 seconds 0 to 60 with rollout. That's kind of fun. Rolling start.
Well, it's just,
you're up to speed. And then 155 mile per hour standard speed, but if you get the M driver's package, it's 177 mile an hour top speed. Base price $73,600 plus $1,350 destination. And you think about that and you compare it to other vehicles, it's probably kind of a deal, isn't it?
Well, yes. The problem is it is very expensive. It's meant for super engaged drivers who have a good bank account. So it's a niche vehicle. It's not large scale production, but it's one heck of a car.
Yes. Rear drive mode is still available, so you can shut off all-wheel drive mode. Active M differential standard, and 8-speed Steptronic transmission is standard. The fact that it's all-wheel drive, I think that will interest a few people. Not that they're looking to go off-roading, but it does. Yeah. It does really positively affect how the vehicle interacts with the road. This is the most successful model built in Mexico, by the way, by BMW.
Wow. It's a great track day car.
Oh, it's a great track day car. Absolutely. Boy. Absolutely. Yeah. And I always thought that M2s, people said, well, why didn't you get the M3? But now it doesn't seem that way. It seems like there's a lot more people talking about M2s.
No, that's right.
So.
Not to be confused with the BMW 2 car, which is
X2?
X2.
Yeah.
A completely different car.
Completely different. While we're on performance cars, this one will set you back a little bit less money, but still a very fun car. I reviewed this not that long ago. The GR86 from Toyota is getting some nice updates for 2027. It is got a 2.4-liter Boxer 4-cylinder. Yes, that is still the Subaru engine, 228 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque, rear-wheel drive, 6-speed manual available, 6-speed automatic available. You have to pick one of them because otherwise you'd have no transmission. New features include new Thunder exterior colors, new cockpit red interior, improved active safety systems, and better cruise vehicle detection. There's a performance package available with Brembo brakes and Sachs dampers. And each one of these gets a 1-year NASA membership. That is the autocross group that is you get a free membership there, which I think this is a perfect autocrosser. So it involves also for 2027, they call something focused enhancement, including updated throttle calibration, improved shift feel, new interior treatments, and expanded convenience features. As I said, new Thunder colors. And yeah, I feel this is a pretty cool vehicle. I would opt for something like this over the Miata because it's a little bit bigger. I think it just feels a little bit better on the road. I don't feel like I'm wearing it. One thing I will say this, though, a lot of noise inside, not exhaust noise, just road noise.
Yeah. A lot of it's tires.
And it was one of the only vehicles I found it pretty objectionable. Like I thought, I wish I had some earplugs here because it's pretty noisy. I would actually opt for adding a little weight and putting the sound deadener stuff in there because it's to the point where it was like drumming, and really, really hard to handle.
That could be very tiring on any kind of a distance drive.
Yes.
I agree, though. It's got a lot of road noise. Again, a lot of it's tires, but it's also, the vibration that the tires transmit through the body. And it's not damped with sound deadening.
I was watching a guy on YouTube where he said he felt it was coming from there's these big struts that kind of brace the body, right? And he actually filled them with foam, and he said it reduced the noise. It was like a harmonic of those struts, or there's aftermarket solid ones too you can get. So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
Good idea.
Hey, if you're looking for something somewhat affordable, we have some details on pricing on the Kia Seltos. Brand new Kia Seltos for 2027. I call it the mini Telluride because that's what it looks like. It's a best-in-class passenger space, 64.2 cubic feet behind the first row, 27.8 cubic feet behind the second row. It comes with a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine or a 1.6 turbocharged engine. And there's a hybrid version coming as well. Affordable. Certainly affordable. It
Very much.
LX front-wheel drive, $24,990. The S all-wheel drive, the first level of all-wheel drive you can get, $28,090. The EX all-wheel drive, $30,090, which I'm sure is well-equipped at that number. And the X-Line SX, $32,790. I kind of like the old-school upholstery they went back to. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, this is an awful lot of vehicle for the money. The Kia's just packing them with upscale material and selling them at a very affordable price, and they're winning.
Yes, they are, and this is the type thing where someone walks in and they want, especially the hybrid, they want better fuel economy. And all-wheel drive, and this is the least expensive all-wheel drive vehicle in the Kia lineup. I think it looks good. I also think people don't mind that it looks like a downsized Telluride, right? That's done so well for them.
Absolutely. It's a neat vehicle.
It's a very neat vehicle. Now, another neat vehicle that we talked about last week, but now we have a little news on it, what it did to Ferrari's stock price. Ferrari's Luce EV, just shown last week, the 4-door electric vehicle, wiped billions off the company's value. This comes from CarBuzz. Ian Wright wrote this. People just don't think that it should be a Ferrari. Ferrari stock dropped more than 8% immediately after the reveal, and roughly 3 to 4 billion in market value was reportedly erased. So what do you think?
Well, I think this is short-lived as far as the stock price. This is driven by a bunch of Ferrari owners saying, well, I'm going to sell my stock as a protest. I think in the long term that won't matter. But what will matter is the $640,000 price tag.
Yes.
Which is a lot of money. And I mean, yes, it's a Ferrari. It's an electric Ferrari. It's
4 doors.
Staggeringly fast.
Coach doors in the back.
Yep.
But let me ask you,
yeah.
want to venture a guess how many will be built?
3.
Okay. I mean, all right. Once again, future collectible, even though it's not beloved, it may be even hated.
I'm going to say no. I don't believe it's a future collectible unless 40 years from now it becomes collectible because it's the first electric Ferrari they made.
Okay. All right.
But that's a big if.
I don't think if it's not beloved, I don't think the $640,000 price tag is going to help for people buying.
Right.
Right? Do you think so?
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's the future is just too difficult to predict.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see. What do you think? How many of these Luce electric Ferraris will Ferrari sell at $640,000? Would it make me not want to buy a Ferrari? No, I maybe would not buy that Ferrari model. I do like the interior, though. Whoever designed that interior, I believe it was an Apple design chief. I don't know whether he did the Joni Ive. I don't know whether. I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman. Joni, it could be either, probably. But I think the design is nice. The problem is they don't like the fact that it says Ferrari on it. So that's it. But
yeah,
here, this next story, I think you'll like this very much. AC Cobra is debuting its GT Coupe. Matter of fact, this thing looks like a Hot Wheels car to me with the wheels on it.
It's very reminiscent of the AC Cobra, of which I am intimately familiar.
Absolutely.
Now, this is the Coupe, the Daytona Coupe, which later ran at Le Mans, was pretty crude. It is pretty crude. It's actually, I think the Smithsonian has it now. This is not crude. This is actually quite pretty. And I'm sure very expensive.
Doesn't it look like a Hot Wheels car?
It does.
Like you could be, pushing it around.
Yeah. And I think they should have kept the original grille design, but I wasn't there at the meetings. So
you have a couple of options. I'm guessing this has a Coyote engine in it, naturally aspirated 450 horsepower.
Yeah.
Of course, you go for the supercharged version at 720. Those numbers look familiar for the Coyote. Weight is under 3,600 pounds. Starting around 234,000 pounds, and the supercharged version, you might as well go for it, is 256,300 pounds. They expect to build about 100 vehicles annually. They're going to start with that and maybe ramp up to 1,000 vehicles.
Yeah, which they may. I think they'll sell a lot. I don't know about 1,000, but I think they'll sell a lot.
Yeah. Well, this is inspired by the AC A98 Le Mans racer. And we actually have some Le Mans news. Of course, that's coming up next weekend. And
Yes.
I always love watching it. I don't know who's covering it this year, but Cadillac is returning to Le Mans with an updated V Series .R. They'll have 3 cars at the 24-hour of Le Mans, and it will be the first Cadillac returns after becoming the first American manufacturer since 1967 to sweep the front row in qualifying last year. It's the Hertz JOTA team, car 12 and car 38, and the Cadillac Wayne Taylor Racing car 101. Cool looking car. Love the scoop on the top there. And I'm not sure, is that like a telemetry antenna all the way on the top, that little kind of thing that's above the air intake? I think so. Cool stuff. But a first-time manufacturer at Le Mans, and this will be Genesis. These cars are incredible the way they look. I would love to see a street car to look like this, but
they're just they look like they're sculpted out of some kind of beautiful jade or marble. They, of course, are incredibly expensive to make, but this is their biggest objective, is to win Le Mans. Well, it's the biggest objective of almost every car company.
This is the Genesis Magma, and its color scheme transitions from Magna orange to deep red, kind of a fade job, and the design reflects Korean culture and volcanic inspiration. Very slick looking car. Let me ask you, why are the tops of the fenders open? Like they cut away the probably carbon fiber, and then you can see the top of the tire.
It's to help cool the brakes.
Oh, okay. Let the air.
You know, when you're driving, well, not flat out, but when you're driving at, sustained speeds of 150, 160 for pretty long distances, even though the brake pressure isn't applied, the rotors are actually so hot they're glowing red.
Oh, yes.
And so that's to help cool the rotors, because you don't want them to melt. And I don't think it has any aerodynamic disadvantage.
So when they come in for a pit stop and that thing is glowing red and you're just yanking a tire off at speed, that is...
Don't touch it.
What kind of temperatures are you talking about?
Well, it's a dull red. It's
like saying, well, you'll get burned, but, it's about so bad.
It's about 750 to 800 degrees.
Flesh.
You don't touch
burning.
it. If you touch it, it's going to smart.
I'm thinking that somebody would heat something up like that and then for the internet and then drop it in a bucket of water and see what happens.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So, I mean, if you have to look at Le Mans from the pits, if you ever go to France to do that, because that's where you see just the enormous beating that these cars take just because of the sustained speeds.
Yeah.
The exhaust manifolds are glowing red.
And running hard for 24 hours,
Running hard. 24 hours is,
I always talk about it, but I love watching it when it's nighttime there and it's foggy, and I picture being really tired, foggy, and driving that fast. Not a great combination.
They're actually not going that fast in the fog or the rain, but they're going a whole lot faster than feels comfortable.
One year it was raining, and they put in the new rookie drivers. And because they're like, well, they're going slow, only slightly over 100 miles an hour, in the rain. So it's good experience for them to learn the course a little bit better.
but you have to make it's 14 or 16 turns, some of which are tight. These are
Chicanes.
city county streets.
Yeah, in France, in a little town of France. Yeah.
Yeah, and not with potholes, but certainly some rough surfaces. The Mulsanne Strait is no longer clear. They've
Put a chicane
Le
in it.
Mans, the Mans committees back in the 70s put chicanes in there to slow the cars down, because once you got over through 200, it became really dangerous.
Yes.
Mainly slowing down at the other end.
Yeah, or forgetting to slow down.
Yeah. But
interesting.
They're still cranking up close to 200 before they slow down for the chicanes, and then they're right back up again.
There used to be a restaurant where you could sit outside and eat dinner as the cars went by. That was right.
Yeah.
You might be wearing one. Okay,
that's the problem.
Here is a French vehicle that will not be, I can almost guarantee, not be competing. It might do a parade lap. The Duke Chevaux, the 2CV Citroen, coming back, as we talked about a long time ago on this show, but we have more.
And they are what's known as an adorable car. You love the Duke Chevaux.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
And believe it or not, the Wheeler Dealer guys just restored one on their show.
Oh, wow. And
they took the whole thing apart, which, by the way, takes about 5 minutes.
And a screwdriver.
And a dull screwdriver. But they are just the smoothest riding vehicle ever made. They're designed by Renault many, many years ago. They said you could put 24 eggs on the front seat and drive at full speed through a plowed field with it bouncing around, and none of the eggs will break.
It was introduced in 1948, but it looks much older than that. It
looks 1838.
Yeah. And Duke Chevaux stands for 2 horses. It has more than 2 horsepower.
Right.
I remember my French teacher saying it must have 2 horsepower. That was like a tax level on new cars. Like 2 horses was I guess a tax level.
I think it's up to about, well, it was up to about 20 or 18 horsepower.
Okay. All right. And it was designed to be ultra affordable transportation for rural France, to, as you said, carry farmers and produce across rough roads. And it was a symbol of practical and minimalist motoring, which I like. And so they are considering bringing it back. I think they will be actually doing this, and it will be an EV. This is a perfect platform for an EV. It will be faster, for sure.
It's got to be faster.
I like the truck version of it, with the corrugated sides on it. I always thought I would like one.
That's what they restored on the show.
Yes, that is. It's just a cool looking vehicle. What would you put?
Called the Fourette.
What would you put in it if you were going to repower it right now with a gas engine? Probably a motorcycle engine, I would say. Of some kind.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Cool stuff. I hope it comes back. As I say, they will not be racing in anger, the Duke Chevaux at Le Mans.
It will not be at Le Mans.
It doesn't get angry. It just drives. They're great vehicles. If you ever go to Europe, you'll see them everywhere. So it's fun stuff for sure. Hey, let's go to something completely different. GMC this week showed off some Hummer X concepts, and they're showing off Hummer design studies called the Hummer X concepts. Extreme off-road capability, futuristic body treatments, military-inspired design cues, adventure-focused configurations, and heavy use of modular accessories. This is according to Road and Track. And they basically want to gauge public reaction to explore potential future variants, to demonstrate flexibility of the Hummer platform, and to reinforce Hummer's image as a halo vehicle. This is an expensive vehicle. I don't see many of them out there, the EV Hummer. But they can do things like crab walking, four-wheel steering, extract mode adjustable suspension if you're stuck behind rocks. But what do you think? Will we see more Hummers, maybe a smaller Hummer? Back in the day, that's what they did. They did the H1, H2, H3. Do you think we'll see a smaller EV Hummer, maybe more affordable, more drivable?
I don't know. I just don't know where that company is going. I don't see any of them on the road.
No, you don't. I don't see Silverado EVs either. Have you seen any of those?
No, I don't.
So I don't know. I don't know what that's like, what the sales are like on that, but we'll have to see. Let us know in the comments if you see them or maybe you own one. So let's go over and talk a little about insurance. I know that is a weird sort of transition, but pay-as-you-go insurance is a little bit different take on it. Right now, what would you call it? Insurance is based on things like age and sex and all kinds of things. I always thought it was bad because I remember when I got my insurance for my first car and they're like, well, we have to charge you more. You're a single guy, so you're going to go fast and crash into a tree. I said, I hope not. I don't want to injure myself. Why would I want to do that? Well, they all do. So, we have to charge you more. And that kind of crystallized how insurance is done. And I thought, I thought about it. Like in my high school class, I think there were 10 vehicles totaled of new drivers. And I had my car for many years after high school that it was not damaged. Matter of fact, I actually had it repainted and did a bunch of things to it. But, okay, so that's how insurance works now. But according to this Car Buzz article by Roger Bierman, some companies are talking about making pay-as-you-go insurance, known as usage-based insurance, or even telematics insurance, adjust your premiums based on how much you drive and how safe to your drive, rather than just assuming the average driver covers 12,000 to 15,000 miles annually. And, of course, if they're an unmarried male, they're actually all out-of-control drivers. Now, it would go on miles driven, time of day you drive, acceleration habits, braking, speeding events, cornering behavior, smartphone use while driving, trip frequency and duration. How do you do that if you have a car you take out on the track?
Well, I don't think they mean that. I think they just mean events where you were speeding.
Well, how does it know you're okay, you own a Corvette and you drive it conservatively on the road?
Well, because the car's black box, as it were, knows how fast you were going and what the speed limits were when you were going fast.
Interesting.
That's all embedded through the nav system and other things. But right now, if you're involved in a crash or something, that information can only be extracted by a subpoena in court.
Well, some companies, insurance companies, have an opt-in thing where it plugs into the OBD2 port, which may now be covered by that because it's not internal to the car. It's getting data from it, though. But you basically clip this thing onto your OBD2 port, and it probably sends that out through the modem in the car. I don't know, but the other thing is some people say it's not fair because let's say you're driving along at the speed limit and someone pulls out and you slam your brakes on and you avoid an accident. That's good, but it might say, oh, you're going to get pinged for rapid braking, So it leaves you kind of open.
Yeah, but again, I think that they count the number of times in a given number of miles. And if they're people who are late breakers,
yes,
they just get on the brakes every single stoplight.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff insurance companies consider higher risk, which it is.
How about the annoying ones where they brake for no reason? You're going along at a highway speed. There's nothing on the road ahead. And then they feel a little G-force or the wind moves the car around a little bit. So they're like, oh, I better hit the brakes. Yeah. And you're like, why are you hitting the brakes? There's nothing around, Don't you find that annoying? I do.
Well, I do, yes. But the fact is that the insurance industry is heading in this direction.
Yeah.
Which could, and I stress the word could, result in possible lower prices for good drivers. But because I'm a cynic, I think that the insurance companies will save money and not pass it on to the consumer.
I agree. Well, we want to know what you think. Pay as you go or telematics. Do you think it's a good idea for future car insurance? We'll see. We'll see for sure. Because, nobody wants to be falsely accused, but then on the other hand, nobody wants to be lumped into groups of people that may drive in an unsafe fashion, but you are not one of them. You happen to be that age or whatever, that demographic, but you say, I don't really want to go into a wall at high speed. By the way, one thing I wanted to jump on while we talked about the GMC Hummer. There is an interesting article in Car Scoops about a GMC Jimmy revival. That there are some digital renderings and industry speculation surrounding a possible revival of the GMC Jimmy nameplate. It was their version of the Chevy Blazer and was once a major player in the SUV market. They're saying body on frame, V8 engine, competitor to Ford Bronco, Jeep Wrangler, Toyota 4Runner. And it would be a more premium alternative to Chevrolet this would be positioned below the Hummer EV. What do you think? I mean, the Jimmy was a two-door. It was a two-door,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they bring it back as a two-door, but what do you think?
I think it's a good marketing idea. I don't think it's such a great design in a vehicle, but I think it's if you can sell a couple tens of thousands of them for old time reasons or nostalgia, why not?
I don't know if it would be retro. It's hard to say. It could just be a smaller body on frame. I mean, you look at what Bronco's doing to Wrangler, and everyone knows, it's like the automakers have to play in that field. They don't want to be the guy that says, hey, what do you got that's like a Bronco? Well, we've got this 3-row SUV. Yeah, that's not like a Bronco. So, it's interesting. We'll have to see. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the decline of dual clutch transmissions. Now, dual clutch is sometimes they're known as DCTs. These are sort of like automated manual transmissions. I've heard them called that too. One clutch for odd number gears, one clutch for even number gears. That's how you get dual clutch. They shift faster than human drivers, better fuel economy, strong performance credentials, of course, Porsche. And the is that a DCT in the C8 Corvette? I believe that is a DCT, isn't it?
Yeah. Um, I've never been a fan of dual clutch, mainly because it's not a very refined system. And of course, the complaints that people have, like jerky low speed operation and
I've had that
parking lot
experience.
maneuvering, stop and go. These are kind of important situations.
I've had it where you're making a left-hand turn,
Yeah.
and someone's coming, but you have plenty of room. You hit the throttle, there's nothing. And then all of a sudden it goes crazy and you're chirping the tires. And without, okay, then you'll be nicked on your insurance, for that. But, I don't know. I think it's I think the negatives became early on when there were some really bad DCTs. I believe BMW even had one in their 6 Series that I thought was terrible.
And transmissions today are so good.
Yes.
Why bother? And as an aside, the Deux Chevaux had a centrifugal clutch.
Okay. But a manual shift on the...
But a manual shifter, yeah.
On the column, yeah. I would imagine. I don't think...
Yes, on the column.
Yes, yeah. All right. Well, we were talking about tracking you, right? Tracking and telematics for insurance. If you get a Slate, now, of course, the Slate is the kind of inexpensive, basic truck.
Yeah, very basic.
You can basically unscrew the fenders and quarter panels yourself if you want to. If you get one of those, according to this article in Autoblog, another feature that you may not know about is it can't be tracked. Every vehicle tracks you.
That's right.
Because it has modems and that. This has no modem, so it won't know your location. It won't know your driving behavior information. It won't know the vehicle health data, usage patterns, or remote diagnostic information. It has no modem. It's simple. It is a basic vehicle. It can't send anything out of the vehicle. I imagine it can still collect it, but it can't send it out, right?
Well, that's right. They're going back to basics. They're just simple. No infotainment.
No, it's a clip to clip your phone onto the dashboard.
That's right. Well, but the advantage is you are unknown to the rest of the world when you're in it.
I think that would be a plus to some people, don't you?
Yeah. But, you're looking at something that's very cheap.
Yeah. I mean, the price is going to be $27,000 estimated price to $28,000. 201 horsepower, up to 240 miles of range. Not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah. So that's just another benefit of the Slate. But let's, this was an interesting story I found, and I had to scratch my head about it a little bit. So this comes from CarBuzz. The U.S. crackdown on Chinese cars. So there's a proposed amendment to the U.S. Motor Vehicle Modernization Act that could have unintended consequences for Mercedes. Mm-hmm. So the goal is to limit Chinese cars coming into the auto industry, U.S. auto industry. And, of course, they look at what happened in Europe. They look at what happened around the world. And they want to limit those cars because they're kind of dumped. They're selling them for $15,000 or something like that. And they're saying U.S. manufacturers could never keep up with that. Or even someone like Kia could not keep up with that. So there's that proposed amendment. It's aimed at limiting the Chinese influence on the American auto industry. And it could also prohibit companies with significant ownership ties to China from importing, selling, or distributing vehicles in the U.S. This may also include Mercedes-Benz. And you might say, well, why?
It may. Yeah.
That's certainly a German company. Why would that be involved? Well, Chinese automaker, state-owned company BAIC Group, owns approximately 9.98% of the Mercedes-Benz Group. And Chinese billionaire Li Shufu, a founder of Geely, owns approximately 9.69%. So now we're up over 18%. 19.67. It did the math for me, by the way. So they could become, this could lead to Mercedes-Benz actually being banned in the U.S. What about that?
Well, I can assure you that won't happen. I am quite confident Mercedes highly paid lobbyists have been sitting on congressmen and senators' offices already to make sure that the legislation is altered. This is what they do here.
Everyone but Mercedes, though.
That's right. That's right.
They'll just say,
be something like that. Everyone but Mercedes.
Here's what it will be. If you have manufacturing plants in the U.S., it's okay.
Yeah.
But only for Mercedes. Only for companies that begin with
M. Exactly.
And
they'll change it.
As the article says, they're actively working with lawmakers. You know what that means? That means lobbying.
Working with lawmakers is a euphemism for incredibly expensive dinners and
junkets
and institutionalized corruption. Let me just say it that way.
So Mercedes believes a workable solution can be reached. And of course, as we told you, they operate major manufacturing facilities in Alabama. Interesting story and one to watch here on Cruise Control Motoring.
Well, when they write this stuff, somebody has to go through it and work out how this works for everybody, and invariably they find little errors like this. That wait a minute, we didn't intend this, but this is what it says.
Well, while we're on legal findings here, Leno's Law reboot is getting serious backing from Global Motorsports, folks. This is according to an article in Car Buzz. Leno's Law basically would modernize California's emission exemptions for collectors' vehicles. Right now, existing exemptions largely stop at the 1975 model year. Proposed changes would gradually extend exemptions to newer collector vehicles. And this has been supported by Jay Leno. Of course, he is the car guy's car guys. So the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile has now publicly backed the effort. And it argues historic vehicles represent an important cultural and engineering heritage, and supporters believe collectors' cars represent a tiny percentage of total emissions. So who else supports this? Jay Leno, SEMA, Specialty Equipment Market Association, California collector car groups like lowrider organizations, and historic vehicle preservation groups. And more than 1,700 letters of support reportedly submitted were already submitted. The bill has already passed the California Senate. Now it moves to additional reviews. So what do you think? Will it pass?
I'm sure it will, because it's true that the typical collector car doesn't get driven many miles. And if you want to limit how many miles they can go in a year, just, say 2,500. That's what the collector car insurance limits you're driving to.
Interesting. Yeah.
And you're not going to put out, well, they claim you don't put out very much pollution in in the miles you drive. And that's true because, in a way, because you're essentially driving something that's been rebuilt. So it's putting out the emissions that it used to put out when it was new, which is still 147 times the pollution of a vehicle of the same size today.
But there are not thousands of them out there doing it, or thousands of them idling in traffic or anything like that. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. We see if this happens. So, Les, we're talking a little bit about collector cars. People want to keep them nice, but there's a situation in Scotland. Apparently, an escaped parakeet is causing thousands of dollars in car damage. An unhappy parakeet, apparently, right?
Well, this is true. An escaped parakeet got into a bunch of cars in Scotland, and it attacked the cars over an extended period because the behavior of a bird is when they see a mirror, they peck at it because they think it's another bird.
Okay.
Invading their space. And it pecked at the vehicle mirrors. It attacked all the reflective surfaces. It targeted windows and trim, not to mention going to the bathroom, all this stuff.
Scratch paint.
and scratching paint. They can chew up some components of the upholstery. Collectively, the bird was responsible for thousands of dollars in repair bills. And it's funny if it's someone else's car. But,
yes, if it's your new car and you call the insurance company up and say, well, I was attacked by an enraged parakeet, they're going to laugh at you, right?
Well, that's right. They think, how can a parakeet hurt your car? Well, those claws are very sharp.
And on that note, we hope you enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control Motoring. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.